Hey, everybody, and welcome to Life is a Gamble. My guest today is known as Cowboy Buzz. But before we get into that, I just want to say you can always reach me at lifeisagamblepod@gmail.com or find me on Twitter at RWM21. Always appreciate hearing feedback or ideas for interesting guests and things like that. So our guest today, as I mentioned, is Cowboy Buzz, and cowboys are usually thought of as being from the Southwest, and Buzz is from the Southwest side of Chicago. Buzz, welcome to Life is a Gamble.
Well, great to be here, Richard. I really appreciate it. Hope I can give you some good life stories here. But before I start, just so you know, all the stories I'm going to be telling today are true and accurate to a fact. I know you have a lot of integrity on your podcast. However, my stories are kind of in the vein of the legendary Wyatt Earp. You remember him, the gunslinger, the lawman?
Of course, yeah.
So he spent most of his life telling the story about what really happened at the OK Corral. He told it over and over and over, millions of times. One day, a reporter interviewed him. He said, "Mr. Earp, how did you deal with having to tell the same story over and over and over?" He goes, "Well, son, I just told him the way it was, and then I finished with this exact statement." And I quote, "And that's exactly the way it happened, give or take a lie or two." So,
Right. Well, you have had quite an unusual life, which is why I wanted to have you on. But let's start with how and when you got from Cicero to Las Vegas.
Okay, so I grew up outside Chicago, Cicero. My father was very, very well known. He was one of the largest vending machine operators in Chicagoland. You know, read through the lines on that one.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. The vending machine business in Chicago was very much like the trash hauling business in New Jersey.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, I was a pretty good athlete in high school. I played baseball, was very fortunate. I was offered a scholarship at Southern Illinois and at LSU. But my dad's dream was for me to go to the Southwest where we vacation and go to Arizona State and play baseball there. So I turned down the 2 scholarships to walk on at Arizona State. This would be in 1970. And I got very fortunate. I got there the first day, and there were 12 other catchers trying out. 12.
Wow.
I was the only one from the Midwest. And I thought to myself, Buzz, what did you do? Make a long story short, I made the team. I played there for 2 years. And after the sophomore year, they were going to select the varsity team, which meant if you got selected for ASU's varsity team, they had just won the national championship in 65, 67, 69. Now it's 1970. You're going to sign a pro contract. Well, at the end of the sophomore year, they do this evaluation. And if you're not going to make the varsity, they offer to send you to almost anywhere in the country you want to go play baseball, with the exception of their arch rivals, SC and Arizona and Texas, Florida. You can't go there, but anywhere else. And I made the determination. I took a shot. I was really good, but I didn't make it. On my freshman team, there were 23 players. 22 of the 23 made it to the major leagues. That's how it. Yeah, I was the only one who didn't. So I was a little bummed out, and I figured, well, a new path. And I said, you know what? School ain't really my thing here. Baseball was. I'm going to transfer to UNLV, get into the hotel administration school, and just start over in Vegas.
Now, was part of that because your dad said, "Hey, I know people in Vegas and can get you a job when you're there," or you
never once said anything until 20 years later. I'm going to tell that story. But he never pushed me. He never guided me. And here's how it really works. So I was a lifeguard at one of the most exclusive resorts in Arizona, right behind Camelback Mountain. It's called Mountain Shadows. And Del Webb owned it. with a bunch of other properties. And we had so I was a lifeguard there for a year and a half during my college days. And they had this program where you could transfer to any other Del Webb property and get a job. So I went to the guy, and they got me a job at the Mint Hotel, the old Mint, as a casino cage cashier. So, when I go to move up there, I got a job already, basically. I moved up there. I was a Sigma Chi at Arizona State, and they had a big Sigma Chi chapter at UNLV. So I met a few fraternity brothers. So now I'm going to work at the Mint and learning how to, cash people out. I got really good with my hands with checks, which will lead to dealing craps later on. But they had all kinds of rules. There were no cell phones. One of the rules, you can't take a personal call unless it's, a deathly emergency. So I was only there about 3 months. And the cage manager, her name was Rusty, just a pip. She comes up to me and she goes, "Buzz, you got a personal phone call." And I go, "Well, Rusty, what is this, like a test? Because I can't take personal phone calls." She goes, "You'll take this one." And I go, "Okay." So she hands me the phone, and there's a guy on the other end who goes, "Hey, Buzz. Yeah, this is Russ Dazio at the Stardust Hotel and Casino." I go, "Great, Mr. Dazio. What can I do for you?" He goes, "Well, we kind of heard about you, and we would like for you to come down and work with us here at the old Stardust." And everybody can hear what's going on, and everyone's like going, "Oh, I'm going, well, sure, I'd really like that." I go, I'll talk to my manager, Rusty, here. I'll give her my 2 weeks resignation notice, and I'll be right down. It'll be great. He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "It doesn't really work that way, Buzz. We need you down here tomorrow at noon." He goes, you got a suit, right? Like gray, black, something conservative, right? Conservative. I go, "Yes, sir. I got all that." He goes, "Put your conservative tie on, your coat, and be down here at about 5 to noon." And he goes, "And don't worry about Rusty. She's going to understand." I'm going, "Okay." So everything's all set to go. I hang up the phone, and the cage employees start applauding. They go, and I'm going, "Okay," because, I'm 21 years old. I don't really know that much yet. So Rusty comes up and he goes, "Wow, who's your juice?" And I had no clue what she was talking about. I go, "Juice? What do you mean, juice?" She goes, "Who's your juice? Who do you know?" I go, "Well, I don't really know anybody. I know you." She goes, "No, you know somebody. You just don't know who it is, and you better find out who that is. The Stardust Hotel doesn't call the Mint and invite someone to go to work for them. Doesn't happen." So I'm off to the Stardust. So I could put my suit on. I walk into the dice pit, and there's Mr. Russ Dazio. "Oh, Buzz. I said, come on in." And he goes, "Just give us a couple minutes here. We got something going on. This is the shift boss, Mr. Bernie Perlove was his name." He goes, "How you doing?" And he goes, "We got some stuff going on." And Mr. Dazio disappears. I didn't see him for another 2 hours. So now I'm standing next to who turns out to be the shift boss. And he looks at me and goes, "Okay, I want you to stand right there. Keep your face forward. Keep your mouth shut. Don't answer any questions. Don't talk to nobody. Just stand still. I'll be with you in a few minutes." I'm going, "Okay." Now, keep in mind, I don't even know what the job is. I don't know what I can't feel. So anyway, so I'm standing there, and luckily for me, being an athlete, I have a pretty good peripheral vision. So down the pit, there's this guy walking down, big, tall guy, beautiful, magnificent suit on. And he's saying hi to almost everybody, dealers, the patrons, all the floor men. Every one of them is shaking this guy's hand. I'm going, "Okay, I don't know who this guy is, but he's somebody." So he comes up to the dice room, and I'm standing at the main desk. And right next to the main desk is a little podium that maybe 1 or 2 people could stand at. So This guy walks up, and the shift boss walks over, and the guy's going, Bernie, how you doing? I'm seeing you well. How's your wife doing? How's the kids? How's the grandkids? And when that's all done, he kind of stops him right in the middle, looks at me and goes, who's the kid? And he goes, oh, yeah, it's his first day. Phil Diogardi brought him in. His family's from Cicero. He goes, oh, who's his sponsor? He goes, Louis Salerno. He goes, oh, well, Louis from Melrose Park. That's right next to Cicero. That'll get along great. He turns around, he looks at me, he goes, hey, kid, first day? And I said, yes, sir. He goes, well, I want you to keep your eyes open and your ears open and your mouth shut. And I want you to listen to these guys right here. You might learn something. And I looked them right in the eye and I said, yes, sir, I can do that. He gives me this staring look. And all of a sudden he breaks into a chuckle and he goes, kid, I think you're going to be okay. And that's the first time I met Frank Lefty Rosenthal. So now he goes back to business and he leaves the pit. And Bernie Perlow, the shift boss, comes up and stands next to me. And he goes, kid, you did really good. He goes, but get ready. Frank nicknamed you himself. Now the whole joint's going to be calling you the kid. And that's exactly what happened. In fact, for the time I was there, I don't think that many people even knew my name because they would just call me the kid because I was the youngest guy in the pit at age 21. So that's how it kind of started. I'll get back to...
What was your job? Your job was pit boss?
No. I had no idea. So finally, this Dazio guy comes back, because the shift boss is busy doing,
Sure.
So I go, okay, so Mr. Dazio goes, you can call me Russ. Actually, you can call me the Duke. That's my name, the Duke. I go, okay, Duke, what am I going to be doing? And he goes, well, you're going to be in charge of credit on the casino floor. And I freeze. I don't know anything about credit. What are you talking about? He goes, don't worry about it. We're going to teach everything. It's not really that hard. You just got to enter a figure here and a figure there. No problem. So really what the job was is when someone wanted a marker or wanted credit to verify it, they would call from the 21 pit or the Baccarat table. And I would answer the phone. And they'd say, kid, Mr. G wants $2,000. So I'd look them up and everything was in pencil. In a notebook. There were no computers at that time. It's all in a notebook. So you mark down $2,000. Now he's got $8,000 coming. He had a $10,000 line. So that's what I kind of did all day long. I was the guy who approved the markers. And it seems like a real simple thing, right? Hard to get into a jackpot, as they would call it, a stress situation. As time went on, they started grooming you and teaching you all the different things. Well, here's what the job really morphed to. Not only were you handling the credit, but here's what would happen. Maybe not on a daily basis, but every other day, sometimes twice a day. So they would call, Buzz, Mr. G's here. And I go, okay, he's got a $15,000 line and he wants $4,000. Go ahead and give it to him. He's good. And tell him, he just got here. Don't let him speed. Play too fast, too early. A couple hours later, Mr. G wants another $4,000. I go, he can have it. And I was at half his limit. He's only been here 2 hours. Okay. Now I calls back and I go, man, you got to stop this guy from speeding. He's obsessed. It's Mr. G. Mr. G is. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Didn't matter. I could only give him what I could give him. So now he gets to his limit. And here comes the call. Mr. G wants another $4,000, which would make it $19,000, and he has a $15,000 line. So I got to tell him, no, he can't have it. He's at his limit. That's all we're going to do right now today. And he goes, you do know this is Mr. G, right? I go, yeah, it doesn't really matter who it is. I can't give him money that isn't there to give. He goes, okay, get ready. So about 30 seconds later, here's some guy screaming down in the 21 pit. Yeah, do you know who I am? So sure enough, here comes Mr. G. Like I said, this would happen all the time, every week. Not with one guy, but a lot of different guys. So here he comes storming down the pit to the dice pit, which is the headquarters for the casino. And he's not looking for me. He's looking for the oldest looking guy in charge, the shift boss, right? So he finds him, and he's not quite upset yet. And so he starts to talk to the shift boss about his credit line. And Bishop, they love this. They look forward to this. To the shift boss, this looked like entertainment to them. Because he would stop them dead in their tracks. Whoa, wait a minute. I'm a shift boss. I run all the games. I got nothing to do with credit. You got to go over there. You got to go over there and talk to the kid. And he's pointing at me, 21 years old. That kid? I got to talk to him? So here comes Mr. G. You little who do you think I'm Mr. G, and you're not thinking I'm good for them. And they would just rant and rant. So part of the job was letting them rant. And then finally you'd stop them. Now keep in mind, as he's ranting at me, he's also looking over my shoulder just a little bit, because standing about 6-7 paces behind me is Buster. Buster is about a 6'4", 6'5", one of the largest cut black men I've ever seen in my life in a Stardust security uniform packet. He's standing behind me. So it's never really going to get out of control. But sooner or later, I had to say, I go, look, Mr. G, I know you're a little upset right now, but here's the thing. We told you not to speed. You kind of did it anyway. We're not going to give you any more money here tonight. But if you want to go see the show, I'll put you in the front row. You want dinner at Moby Dick, Steak Lot, whatever. You want to go see the lounge show over here? I'll put you up front. You want abroad? I can help you out with that. But we're not going to give you any more money tonight. So what the job really became was, part of the job was cooling down the people that were at their limit who wanted more money, because they didn't want to deal with all that, because there's nothing, you can either do it or not. I mean, you know what I mean? And if you couldn't do it, you couldn't do it. Didn't you? But they appreciated you handling that heat. So there was no scene in the casino that they had to be part of. And that was kind of one of the real challenging parts of it. And I got to tell you, my whole experience there, these guys, you've heard a lot about these guys and the mob and all that stuff, but literally they were geniuses. They really were. They were so good at taking care of people. Because back then, room food, booze, it was all comped. We just wanted you at the table, period. Cigarettes, cigar, whatever you want. You got to put your time in at the table, right?
Yeah, actually, now that you say that, I remember they used to have cigarettes on the table in some places.
Yeah, they were in a little box on the table.
You just ask them for a pack of whatever you smoked, and they would just give you.
And the cocktail waitress would bring them back. Yeah. So talk about.
I gotta tell you a brief story. So, I moved to Vegas in '77, and I got a job breaking in dealing blackjack at the Golden Nugget, and I learned, like you, people were like, I would say, man, how do you get to a job on the Strip? And they would say, you got to have juice. And like you, I was like, what's juice? And you learn, right, that it's your connections and all that. And one day I'd been dealing about 8-9 months, and I had this regular older woman who would come in and play with me all the time. And she says to me, how come you're not dealing on the Strip? And I said, I don't have juice. Everybody tells me you got to have juice, and I don't have any. And she looks at me like I'm an idiot. And she goes, your father's a lawyer in Chicago, and you think you don't have any juice? And like, the thought had never occurred to me. And I called my dad, and I was like, hey, would you talk to your friends and see if any of them know anybody that can get me a job on the Strip? He calls me back the next day, and he goes, yeah, go see this guy, Frank Rosenthal, at the Stardust. And I had been in town, 8-9 months. By that point, I knew I did not want to go work at the Stardust. So I said, you know what, I'll pass. I'll work on finding my own job. So yeah, I didn't go. And I kind of wish I had, just because I'm sure the stories would have been amazing about because that was like 1978. I remember when his car blew up,
right?
And But now, what years were you? How long did you stay there at the Stardust?
Okay, so I was there from 1973 to 1981, but intermittently because, and I'll get to the story because they sent me to the Sundance West to break in 20 in blackjack. Then they sent me to the Fremont to break in at craps. I actually dealt baccarat at the Stardust, so they were sending. So I wasn't at the start the whole time, but pretty much 3 years in a row, and then maybe every other year. I came back to deal craps way later on. That's a different story. But back to their genius.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you how they built their gambling database. It was genius. So I'll take Mr. G, okay, $15,000 line, and he's over by $3,000 or whatever. So before he leaves, you know, we'd have a little sit down with him. It was actually a stand up in the dice pit. But okay, Mr. G, I see you're 3,000 over your limit. Don't worry about nothing. Just pay off the markers. We'll send another plane back and we'll do it all over again. I'll tell you what, you know, that extra $3,000 you owe us, don't worry about that. We're not going to collect that. Just pay us the 15,000. That'll be good. Just, you know, our kind of good wishes to you. Right. And the guy goes, of course. He goes, yeah, well, thanks. I really appreciate that. And they go, oh, yeah. One other thing. So when we send the plane out for you next time, you got to bring a friend with you. He's got to have your same credit line. I don't care if it's your brother, brother-in-law, neighbor. It doesn't matter, but you got to bring somebody with you. Sure. And we'll comp everything. So now that guy comes back in, Mr. G. Now he is showing off to his brother-in-law, right? Come up. Oh, you got to meet the kid. You got to meet the kid. He can get you whatever you want. Yeah. So same thing happens to Bobby. And we bring Bobby aside. Okay, Bobby, we're going to forgive this $2,500. But next time you come, you got to come to someone else and someone different than Mr. G here. You all can come together, but you got to have somebody with you. And that's how they built their database. Not only did that assure good credit and collection, but they were also targeting specific areas like Chicago, Kansas City, where the people that were coming from those places, they were not a risk of any kind. You know what I'm saying? And they had money. They were out. Most of them were business owners.
Yeah.
So that's how they built their database. Everything. You know, imagine how that multiplies over time. Sure. They were geniuses. And
now the other thing is so those years that you were there, for everybody who's seen the movie Casino, those were also the years of Tony Spilotro, who was getting his fingers into the Stardust and causing some problems. So did you have any run-ins with him?
I know this is maybe hard to believe, but I never saw him. I never met him. I cannot remember him being in the casino when I was there anyway. And I worked relief. So I worked all 3 shifts throughout the week. Now, there were rumors, they were probably true, that he used to go back in the poker room and he had a poker gang, and they would, you know, rip off the tourists. You know, they ain't going to beat that game. So there was that. But actually having a conversation or seeing him, I take it back. I saw him one time at a social function, but it was from 40 yards away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But so my recollection from in the movie, they had him running everything, and
yeah,
I didn't see that happening.
Yeah,
Lefty was running everything, period.
And what kind of guy was he? I mean, did you spend much time talking to him or interacting with him? And what kind of guy was he?
After a while, I guess he kind of liked me, because one day he might have been, it was Bernie Perlov again on day shift. He goes, Bernie, I'm going to take the kid with me for a couple hours. And he goes, okay. I didn't know what that meant. So what that really meant was I would walk behind him about 5 paces and would walk through the casino, and all day long, not all day, for the 2 or 3 hours a day, sometimes I would do this. He would say, kid, go get me that. Kid, go get me that report. Kid, let me know what Tommy up on phone number 4 said about the Creighton game. That's just that. So I was like his gopher. then, so I got to know him pretty good. He was a genius. It's so smart. It was unbelievable. And compared to the movie, I would say he was way more in control of his emotions. He could get emotional, no doubt about it, but not like most of the rest of the pit bosses who could go off any second for any reason for hours. Like, huh? Frank wasn't like that.
That's exactly why I didn't want to go work there, because they had that reputation for.
I mean, one of the bosses' nickname was Little Hitler. I mean, come on now. So then, one day, I only did this one about 3 different times, but he said, kid, come with me, we're going on tour. So what that meant was we owned all these properties. We had the Stardust, we had the Hacienda. I think we had a secret interest in the Tropicana because we would go there. Then you had the old Sundance and Fitzgerald's. I think that's the D now.
Yeah, the D. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Sundance and Fitzgerald's was the same place. They just changed names.
No, the Sundance West was the old Carousel across the street from the Fremont there. Anyways, it's a very small casino. It used to be called the Carousel. And right next to the Carousel were what they call the jam auctions. I don't know if you remember them.
No.
But, yeah, that's a whole different story. Anyway, we would go and do the same thing I was doing for him at the Stardust, but at the Hacienda. So I got to know like pretty much everybody in the family being his gopher. And then at one point in time, he said, you know, you got to learn how to deal. He goes, you ain't going to go nowhere. You got to deal all the games. So then they sent me to the Sundance and they sent me to the Fremont to learn all the games. And that was my road kind of into being a boss, basically. So to kind of continue that, because that came to an end, I'll get there in a second. After I learned the deal, I came back to the Stardust and dealt craps because they knew if I could handle the game at the Stardust, because big crap. I mean, you had to be good. If you could handle the game there, you're good to go, basically. And then, so I was actually dealing craps. And my sponsor, Louis Salerno, he goes, kid, it's your lucky day. We're going to take you out of here. We're going to send you down to a place called Foxy's Firehouse. You remember that?
Oh, yeah. Across from the Sahara.
Yeah. So I'm 24 years old now, right? I go, okay, yeah, what do you want me to do there? He goes, you're going to be graveyard shift boss.
Oh.
I go, shift boss? He goes, yeah.
Did they even have table games at that time?
At that time, they had 9 blackjack tables, 1 crap table. They had a poker room with 1 table. They had Keno and probably 400 or 500 slots. So they had pretty much all the games. And so the other partners, they probably had major interests, were 2 guys named Earl Wilson and Mel Wolzinger. Sure you heard those names? Earl Wilson's name is on top of the stadium at UNLV. They owned United Coin Company back when you had to use tokens for the machine. And Mel Wolzinger became the majority stockholder at the Golden Nugget. So that's who I was working for. I mean, you talk about connected. And they were all great. And really, you know, you hear about all the emotions of all the bosses and all that. In reality, the vast majority of these guys were pretty good guys. They were classy guys, well-dressed, well-spoken. They weren't the Brunos. I mean, they really weren't like that. They were classy. You know, you know.
Now, were you, when you first started at the Stardust, was this still the era when they would whack people out? In other words, bring in a dealer to cheat players that were winning too much?
Okay, to my knowledge, now they would change dealers. If you know, now I don't know. I wasn't one of those dealers. Okay,
yeah.
So I don't really recall that. They could have and probably did do that, and you wouldn't know. It's just another dealer coming in.
Yeah.
But they weren't talking about it.
Yeah.
Especially to me, you know, the youngest kid in the pit. I mean, what does the kid need to know about that, you know?
Yeah.
So I didn't really see that, and I didn't I didn't know about them taking anybody in the back room and breaking their knuckles. It could have happened. I personally didn't see any of that, and they didn't really talk about that. There was no pride in that if they did it to these guys. They just didn't talk about it. And not only that, you learn first thing about what you want to know and what you want to don't know.
Right.
No,
Right.
seriously, you have to be careful. You say the wrong thing to the wrong person at the wrong time in the wrong situation, you might lose more than just your job, dude.
Yeah.
So you got very smart at reading people, so you didn't find yourself in what they called a jackpot. So it was a great, great learning experience, and they knew you were young, and they were bringing you along. Well, here I'll give you. This is a good story. In fact, I got the layout on my bedroom wall. So I'm in charge of credit, and we have this guy from Texas, Dallas, Texas. His name is Bob McLean. Never forget him. And he had $100,000 credit line. Okay, so that's as big as you get at that time. That was
this is like the 70s.
Right? It's 73 or early 74.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So anyway, this guy starts playing craps, and he's down 90K. I thought he was actually down 100K because I forgot to make an entry. So he's at his limit, right?
Yeah.
So the foreman comes over and goes, he wants another 10,000. So I thought he was at 90. So I go, yeah, give it to him. Richard, this guy takes the 10 grand and rolls it up to a little over 900,000. You are a statistical, mathematical genius. At the time, you could only bet $500 a number, 500 on the line, 1,000 on the back. Now, they let him go 5,000 on the back 5 times, not like today we can go 10 or 20. But just think of those increments and how to get 10,000 to $1 million.
Yeah.
He was at the table for 31 hours. They kept bringing him food, everything. So I go home. Oh, before I go home, Frank shows up, and they're talking to him, and I hear him say from the little podium, he goes, well, who gave him the money? And the shift boss looks right at me and goes, the kid. And Frank turns and looks at me and gives me this look and just starts shaking his head back and forth, but he didn't say a word. Very unusual. They were going, oh, watch this. He's going to, but he didn't say a word. So I go home. I didn't sleep all night. I got a double bag to do the day shift because I left at 4 a.m. This is at the end of swing shift. So I'm coming back at noon. So now I didn't sleep at all. I'm wondering, okay, what's going to happen? So I walk in the end of the 21, and I can see that the guy's still rolling dice, man. I'm going, oh my, he probably owns the joint by now. So coming by me was one of the old dudes. I think it was from the Purple Gang. You can look him up. His name is Milton Jaffe. He probably was part owner some way, somehow, out of, I believe it was Detroit. An old guy. He's probably 80 years old. They called him the magician because he could do all these things with his hand. He was incredible. So anyway, he comes up in the dream. He goes, hey, kid, how's it going? I haven't seen you in a while. I go, well, Mr. Jaffe, honestly, I'm not doing so good. I didn't sleep all night. He goes, oh, you okay? I go, well, I see Mr. G's still over there rolling dice. He had me for almost $1 million last night. And he looks over there and goes, you mean that guy? I go, yeah, Mr. G. He goes, oh, that guy. We got the $1 million back, and he's into us for 200,000 now. And I was so relieved because, I said, they're firing you, they just forgot last night. Anyway, so he looks at me and he goes, so what did you learn here today, kid? Because they love to teach. I froze. I didn't know what to say. I said something dumb like, you just got to keep a positive attitude. And he goes, no, that's not what you learned here today. Here's what you learned today. And he sticks his finger right in my face and goes, don't sweat the money. Just keep them at the table.
Wow. Wow. Because the reputation was that they sweated the money like crazy there.
Well, I'm
At
just
least,
telling you what he told me. And then he finished, because this happened to me a lot, with the chuckle going, I think you're going to be okay, kid.
wow.
I got another Milton Jaffe story like this one, unrelated, but so he comes up to me in the pit, and he's got this string in his hand, about a foot long. And he takes, with his right hand, he takes a string and he puts a knot in it with one hand. Then he puts the rope into the little string into his left hand, and he ties another knot in it with one hand, and then he puts a third one in it, right? So he does all the stuff with his hands, and poof, that baby is gone. No clue. He goes, so where do you think it went? I go, Mr. Jaffe, I had no idea. He goes, well, what did you learn here today? And I go, I guess that the hand is quicker than the eye. He goes, good. He goes, what else did you learn? And I go, he goes, here's what else you learned. Don't let people get too close to you. I didn't know what that meant. He goes, reach into your right hand suit pocket. So I did. Guess what was in there? The string.
Yeah. Huh.
He goes, someone nudges you, bumps you, you immediately go to your pockets for your cash. Immediately. He goes, that way you're not going to ever get tricked. Don't let people get that close. We don't do the hugging thing. So he was teaching me how to not get pickpocketed. So that's how these guys really were. So I just had the greatest experience with those guys. And the way it ended is a pretty good story. So my father was in the restaurant business, I had this dream of having an Italian restaurant in Las Vegas, of all places. So
wait, I'm sorry. Your father had an Italian restaurant in Las Vegas?
He had restaurants, cafeterias inside of these big industrial complexes, mostly that made stuff for the military, bombs and all that. And he would have restaurants inside those places, cafeterias. Yeah, he made Italian sausage. He had his own sausage company, his own jardiniere company, peppers. Yeah, he had a lot of stuff.
But did you say he had a restaurant in Vegas?
No, I wanted to.
Oh, you want? Okay. Yeah.
I wanted to follow his footsteps. So anyway, that happened. I hooked up with a couple of fraternity brothers, and we're going to put this thing together called the Untouchable Sandwich Shop. And keep it brief, it was a sandwich shop, and each sandwich was the name of a gangster. The Frank Nitti Italian sausage, Al Capone Italian beef, Legs Diamond corned beef, and then we delivered all those. So I'm at the Stardust back, and this is after Foxy's. I went back and I actually dealt craps for a little bit, and they promised me we got something else coming, meaning in the Stardust. You know what I mean? So now I'm going to quit to open up the restaurant. Well, you just don't quit. You got to go to the casino manager, who at the time was Bobby Stella. Same time frame as what was the comedian who played him in the movie? Don Rickles.
Yeah.
So I went to Mr. Stella and I explained the situation, and he starts shaking his head. He goes, "Kid," he goes, "Wow, I'm really kind of surprised." He goes, "We invested a lot of time and money in you, and now you're telling us you want to go do the restaurant thing." He goes, "I know your dad's in the restaurant business. I get it." And he goes, if you really have your heart set on that, go ahead and do it. You have our blessing. You don't have to feel guilty or nothing. Something goes wrong, it's a tough business restaurant. You can always come back here and work for us, but you can't be a boss again. I go, okay. He goes, oh, yeah. And one other thing. We're going to support you, but the cops' money is no good. And I'm looking at him like, huh? Yeah, the cops' money is no good. So when they come in, you comp. That's how we do it. So that's the only favor I want of you. Don't worry about it. We'll send all kind of people down there. So now I got to go back to my partners and go, we're copping the cops, boys. And anyway, to make a long story short on that one, is the best thing that ever happened. We were open 24 hours, high density thing.
Where was the shop?
It was on just one block off Maryland Parkway on Twain. And right behind it was something crazy, like 20,000 apartments.
Yeah,
So,
that's right where I lived.
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if
that's
it's still there.
yeah, yeah.
So, you know, they would call in and order, and we would deliver. Now, the delivery boys had a hat, what do you call it, fedora hat, and they had a real lightweight, short trench coat on, and they carried a violin case. And inside the violin case were the sandwiches.
Oh, that's funny.
So when they went up to the door, they'd open it up and tell you know. Biggest problem I had was getting the delivery boys back because they were all getting it on with the girls. I'm telling you, it was hard to get them back, but they made a fortune. Yeah, and they did. They came in. We had a cop car in the lot at all times. We never, because it got out real fast. So yeah, the cops worked there, and the Stardust owns it. So nobody messed with us.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, you know, at that time, the Stardust and Binions, you just didn't get out all night.
Right, right.
In fact, this is a little gruesome, but I'll tell you a quick story because earlier I said I didn't see anybody getting beat up or anything. But so when I'm breaking in craps at the Fremont graveyard, get off at noon, and every day I would go right across the street to Binion's Horseshoe because they had the main bar and it was 50-cent drinks. They had no slots on the bars back then, you know. So, you know, I was there for a little over a year. I got to know the bartender, Louise, who wound up staying there 42 years or something. Got to know him real well, and it's right across. I mean, it's 8 feet from the crap, from the dice pit. And Louise points over at the, something's going down. And I look over there, and you got Jack Binion, a guy who's probably the shift boss and probably the casino manager. And they're hawking this game. So I kind of stood up to look at the game, and it ain't that big a deal. It's like, what are you looking at, man? You know what I mean? It's like, huh?
Not a lot of money on the table.
Yeah, no, it's standard stuff. And there's these 3 high-powered guys, including Jack Binion himself, watching the game. All of a sudden, Binion himself puts his hand out over the table, stops the game, takes his hand and reaches it down inside of the boxman's suit coat and pulls out a handful of green checks.
Wow.
Now this boxman used to be a boxman at the Stardust. I actually knew the guy. Not very well, but I mean, I knew he was. They get him up, and at that time, you heard all kind of stories about you do something at Binion's, and they take you down the stairs, and you heard all that stuff, right?
I had 2 friends that they did that to, actually. Beat them half to death. Yeah. Okay,
so I guess I'm verifying it. So the bathroom at the Fremont is right across the street from the entrance to Binion's on the side of the, First Street or whatever it is. So before I go up to my car after I left, I go into the bathroom at the Fremont, and I walk in, and in one of the bathroom stall, you can see a guy's laying down. His feet are like out, right? I'm going, oh no. I open the door, peek in, and it's the box man, and he's bleeding from everywhere. It's all over. I freaked out. So I went out and I got, we had house phones. I got the house phone. I called, not thinking, I called security to save the guy. But then I figured, well, it's not Binion security. It's Fremont. They probably don't know. You can't let the guy just lay there. And then I got out of there as fast as I could. I never said a word. I don't know what happened, but he was in bad shape, though.
Wow. Yeah. You know what's funny is when I was a dealer, maybe 3 or 4 people got caught stealing from joints and got fired. And every single one of them, the next time I saw them, they were dealing at the Horseshoe. And I asked a boss that I worked with, kind of an old-timer guy, and I was like, all these guys got caught stealing, and the next time I see them, they're dealing at the Horseshoe. And he says, yeah, they'll hire them because they figure, like, nobody's going to have the balls to try to steal from them.
Yeah, I mean, well, there were some real ironclad rules. First of all these old, they used to call them mustache Pete's.
Yeah.
Their work ethic was beyond belief. These guys are old. They never, ever missed a day of work. They were never late. ever. It was unbelievable. I mean, they had to be going to the hospital before they would miss a day of work. All these old guys. It was unbelievable. So you couldn't miss work. You had to be on time because the whole casino ran on the clock, you know.
Sure. Yeah, you know,
The other one was you couldn't steal, obviously, but we would never even think of that. It never even crossed my mind once. Working at the Stardust, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what was the other thing? Oh, yeah, the other thing was you couldn't wear white belts, white shoes, and you couldn't have any facial hair. Those are the four
right.
rules.
No, I remember that no facial hair, but I never heard the white belt or white. I mean, we always had to wear black shoes and black pants, and
right.
You know, so.
And then they had another weird one at the Stardust: no peanuts in the pit, because they were so superstitious about everything.
Yeah. You know, I worked with a lot of those, not a lot, but some of those old Mustache Pete guys. And that my big regret is that I didn't spend more time talking to those guys, guys who worked in illegal joints in Newport, Kentucky or Hot Springs, Arkansas, and, you know, really came into Vegas like in the 50s and 60s.
Right. Yeah. And most of those guys, I don't know if I was smart enough at the time or if I just did it, but they like talking to younger people. You know, they don't got nothing to do. They're in charge of it. Yeah, they love talking to young people and kind of teaching them, as long as you kind of prove to them that you were actually listening and you know what I mean? That you weren't some wise guy trying to be funny all the time. They would pick you out. Just on that, I got to go back to my juice. I got to finish that story.
Oh, yeah.
So about 20 or 25 years, maybe 20 years after the Stardust. So we're talking about late, I'm going to say maybe 95, 94, somewhere in there. Anyway, so we're at the table. My father's retired down in Arizona, and we're at the table talking about the old days in Vegas. And, you know, so, you know, how'd you get to the Stardust? Came up, and I said, well, you know, I guess I must have done pretty good because these guys just discovered me out of nowhere, man. I mean, you know, I'm thinking I was really something. My dad's looking at me. He goes, what? He goes, yeah, Dad. I mean, you know, I think they found me and discovered me, and, you know, I was lucky. He goes, that's not what happened. He goes, I called Phil Diogardi, who was the 21 boss, I think, for 42 years at the Stardust. He was a legend.
Yeah.
I called Phil Diogardi and I told him, look, my son's in town. Could you give him a job and kind of look after him so he doesn't get in trouble? I don't want any problems. And Phil hired you. Remember in the beginning? He said, yeah, Phil Diogardi brought him. I didn't know who Phil Diogardi was until later. And then same with Louis Salerno. I didn't know who he was. You know, so 20 years later, I actually found out who my juice was. And my father never said anything those whole 20 years. It was pretty amazing. But
so what happened after the sandwich shop? You opened the sandwich shop.
Yeah, that's a bad story of my time. I just blew it with my partners, lost my share. And I went back to dealing. And then from dealing, I got into the telemarketing business. I became a really big telemarketer in town. That's a story for a different time, maybe. But I got one other story I think your folks will like here. It's about my sponsor, Louis Salerno from Melrose Park. So he's the graveyard shift boss, and we really hit it off. He really liked me, and he was interesting. And as all these guys were, they were sharp as tacks. They really were. They could read people like no one I've ever seen since. Almost. So anyway, out of the blue, one day Louis goes, so kid, I think I was there 3 or 4 months maybe. And he goes, so kid, where are you living? And I told him, well, I'm living off on the other side of the Tropicana country club there off, I can't remember the name of the street. I'll think of it in a second. But he had these apartments on one side and he had the golf course with the condos on the other side. Right past the Maxim. What's the name of that street? Right behind where the
Koval?
Yes, thank you. Koval Lane. So I told him that. He goes, you're staying in those places? I go, yeah, it's okay. It's a studio type thing. I go, he goes, that is an S-hole. I go, no, it's okay, Louis. I mean, I'm here 6 days a week. You know, He goes, no. He goes, I will not have it. You will not be staying there. And he goes, tomorrow after the shift, 12:30, I want you to meet Bruno across the street at those You're going to know who Bruno is. Trust me. 12:30, you be there. Yes, sir. I mean, he didn't say no to the shift boss, So get off work, 12:30. Sure enough, there's this giant dude with all the gold chains on named Bruno. Oh, you must be the kid. Yeah, let me set you coming down. So, yeah, let me show you your new pad. So he opens up the door, and it's a totally tricked out 2-bedroom. What do I need 2 bedrooms for? 2-bedroom suite on the golf course. I'll never forget walking in the bathroom, and they had one of those brass lion heads where the water came out the mouth. I was like, that was it for me, So the guy comes back and he says, come on, let's go look at your backyard. So he opens up the curtains, opens up the door, and it's just grass all the way to the 8th hole of the Tropicana golf course. There's no fences. I mean, you just walk out like 20 feet, 30 feet. It was incredible. I mean, so Louis told me, he goes, when you're done with Bruno at 1:30, I want you to go and check out the pool. I go, sure. Okay. He goes, yeah, 1:30. Okay. Well, Bruno was pretty efficient, and we were done at like 1. So, oh yeah, I got to check out the pool. So I go down to the pool and look at the pool, and it's a pool. It's really nice, very clean, all the chaise lounges, but it's a pool, beautiful. Okay. So I get to work the next day and go, so how did everything go, bro? It's all great. He goes, how'd you like the pool? I go, it was beautiful. It was crystal clear, clean. They really have good maintenance, He goes, yeah, but how did you like the pool? Like I was supposed to be in it or something. I didn't know where it was. I go, yeah, it's a pool. It's really nice, and I appreciate it. He goes, when did you go down there? I go, I don't know. We were done at like 5 to 1, probably 1 o'clock. He goes, I told you 1:30, didn't I? I told you to go down there at 1:30. I didn't say 1 o'clock. I said 1:30. He's like, had it. I'm going, okay. He goes, tomorrow, I want you there at 1:30, not 1:29, not 1:31, 1:30. I go, yes, sir. Next day rolls around. I'm looking at my watch. It's 1:29, almost 1:30. I'm off to the pool. And right in front of the gate is the same guy from the pit. Buster is his name. 6'5", 300 pounds, hut, packing with a Stardust security uniform on. I mean, just a huge dude. And I walk up, seeing this guy, and he goes, yeah, kid, Louis said you'd be coming today. He goes, have a good time in there. And I'm looking at this guy like, okay. And I open the gate, and my jaw drops. And I freeze because I don't know what to do. There are 5 of the most beautiful women you have ever seen in your life, and all 5 of them are naked. Fuck, naked. Nothing. They're walking around. They're in the chaise lounge chairs. I didn't know what to do. So one of them comes up, never forget, name was Sherry. She goes, oh, you must be the kid. Louis said you were going to come down. And she goes, yeah, don't worry about all this. She goes, you're going to get used to this. We're dancers in the Lido, and we can't get tan lines. So we come out here a couple days afternoon. We don't got to worry about anything because we got Buster here, And so I met the girls. And here's what Buster's role really was. It was insane. I used to watch this all the time. So we're on the 8th hole. It's a par 5. So they'd tee off. And then these jokers would intentionally duck hook their second shot by the pool so they can walk by and see the girls, right? Because they knew they were, well, guess who's standing out there on the edge of the fairway? Big old Buster. And they come, did you see a ball come by here? He goes, yep. It's way out of bounds. Lost ball. Well, can we come in and no, that ball's gone. Now, the green's only 120 yards from you. You can drop one right here.
Yeah.
But he was there to keep the riffraff away from the girls. But
Yeah. So now, were they paying for this new apartment, or
no. I paid for it because that was another shock to me. I go, he goes, don't worry about it. You're making good money. You'll be able to afford it. Don't worry about nothing. And he was right. It was totally affordable. So I don't know about because the girls lived there too, and I didn't. They were down a little bit for me, and I don't know what their situation was. Because once again, some things you don't want to know, don't need to know. Just like I never went out with any of them because you didn't do that. You didn't mess with anything at the casino property. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
It's not. There were so many babes. You didn't need to do that.
Yeah. Well, listen, we've been going for about an hour here, but there are a couple of things I still have to ask you before we go. And the first one is, how did an Italian kid from Cicero turn into a cowboy? How did that go? Because every time I've seen you, including right now, you're wearing a cowboy hat, and we're always in Western garb. And so how did that transformation happen?
Okay. So I'll go back in time. So get to Vegas, and I guess it really started on one of the tours with Frank. He didn't know, but we wound up going to the Hacienda, and the guy running the 21 pit was this tall 6'3" guy. He looked like a movie star. He looked like a Robert Redford kind of, but he had a really expensive, but a cowboy yoke cut jacket, and he had boots on, exotic boots. Now, he was the only one that I saw in any of our properties wear cowboy boots ever. And you just didn't wear them. You didn't do it. So anyway, after about the second tour, and his name was Big D. Okay, so about 2 or 3 months after that tour, I'm off on Monday. I go across the street on Convention Center Drive there. Silver something. I can't remember what it was. But it was a cowboy place, actually, and so I kind of started liking it. And all of a sudden, in comes this guy, head to toe, got the hat on, the boots, the buckle, the whole deal. And it's Big D. Now, the guy's about 30 years older than me, maybe more, maybe 35. Well, we became friends and we started partying. When this guy walked in, every head in the bar looked at this guy. That's kind of the persona he had, being the cowboy. So that's kind of where it started. And to finish that story, check this out. When I got into one of my telemarketing businesses, there's a girl about 15 years younger than me, and she used to joke about, someday I'm going to marry you. Yeah, joke, not happening. Anyway, to make a long story short, 10 years later, I did marry her. So she came from a family where the father was here and the mother was there, and they're all over the place, totally dysfunctional kind of at that time. But I didn't know, So I figured, we got to do the proper thing. I got to introduce myself to your father, wherever he is, and get his permission. And she goes, okay. So she writes down this address, and it's in the Winterwood area of Las Vegas by the golf course. And so I got the thing. So I get out of the car, walk up, I knock on the door looking for Kathy's father, right? Guy opens the door, and it's Big D. And I go, Big D? He goes, kid, where have you been? I haven't seen you for 10 years. How you doing? I go, I'm doing great. He goes, well, what brings you here? I go, well, I think I got the wrong address here. I'm looking for some guy named Don Galuska. He goes, yeah, that's me. And once again, my jaw dropped. And I'm going, this is the guy I used to party hard with. And he gives me one of those looks like he's going to kill me. And then he starts laughing. He goes, you must be the kid that's marrying my youngest daughter. Come on in. And we became best friends. But I didn't know that Big D was going to be my father.
That's funny. Small world.
So where were we going before that? What did you ask me about?
How the cowboy transition.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So that's where it started. Then, me and Max Rubin had the band, and it was predominantly country western music. So that kind of contributed to it. And the rodeos, so I just kind of got into it. I really wasn't a real cowboy, although I'm getting there. But I always used to wear country western stuff on stage, for the 25 years. We played all the lounges and all the bars and all that. But where it really kind of proliferated is at the Blackjack, because everybody had a moniker, everybody had a nickname, and Max called me Cowboy Buzz. So that's how it really got kind of entrenched. But when it really took effect was when I moved and retired here to Florida, because I got this job running a parking lot. Now, so I'm a parking attendant. Now, I don't get in the car and drive it. I move a cone and park it there. It turns out to be one of the most lucrative jobs on the whole island. Anyway, I would wear the cowboy hat, and I would wear this and the belt buckle. And my thing would say Cowboy Buzz. So on a daily basis, I'm still working there. I will meet and greet anywhere from about 700 to 800 people a day. That's how many walk by me, because you got to walk by me to get to the Bridge Street and to the beach. So said Cowboy Buzz. So I turned the whole deal into a Vegas lounge show act. First time here on Bridge Street. Okay, let me tell you how to get the most out of it. Okay, when you get out there on the street, whenever you get there, it doesn't matter where you go. When you get there, you just tell them Cowboy Buzz sent you, and they'll take care of you, or they'll charge you double. So what these people would do, these tourists would go, whatever shop they're in, they would go and they'd say, Cowboy Buzz sent me. And it kind of caught on. So then the whole island started calling me Cowboy Buzz. And to this day, I think again, I'm not trying to be arrogant, but I was written up last year, one of the top 5 personalities, but nobody knows my name.
Right.
So
now you perform still, right? You play guitar and sing, and
I perform twice a week at the world famous 100-year-old Drift Inn, which is it's kind of like the world famous Jimmy Buffett style bar on the beach here on Anna Maria Island. And really, really good musicians. And so they let me get up and sing, and now I sing twice a week. Usually on Friday afternoon, Saturday afternoon, but it's 100% 5-star dive bar. Again, I'm the only one with a hat on, but
so there's one last thing I just want to ask you about. And that is, so I met you through Max Rubin and Anthony Curtis, who you guys were on a rugby team together for a long time. And Max tells me that you are still playing rugby.
Yes. So I'm 70.
And how old are you?
I'm 73. And this December 12th, which is about 10 days or whatever.
Yeah. I
will start my 53rd consecutive rugby season. Now, sometimes I only play 2 games a year, but and I don't know. My wife's trying to get me to retire after this one. It's down in Fort Lauderdale at the Ruggerfest down there.
How old are the people you're playing with?
So I'll play 1 game over 50s and 1 game over 60s.
Wow.
Now, the 50s game is a challenge. I might only take 10 or 15 minutes in that.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see. But I'll go a good half in the over 60s, or until I can't go. See, because the way you do it, you would think, okay, I'm going to save myself so I don't get hurt, just ease out. No, you'll get hurt for sure that way. You have to go balls out from the very get-go until you can't go anymore, and then you don't play them. Then you come out.
And that way,
any time and come out,
Yeah, that way they're more afraid of them getting hurt by you. So you
well, if you go halfway, you just get hurt.
Yeah,
you're just going to get hurt. We got no pads on. You can only hit somebody so hard with no pads on before you hurt yourself. So you just got to go all out, or you will get hurt. Plus, then, like for me, the deal's over in 18 minutes. So what? It's great. But let me tell you the last one if you got time.
Yep, sure.
This is a good one. This is how I met Max Rubin. Check this out. Now, kind of bring you through rugby and the band and the whole thing. So I got the job at the Mint, and I got a fraternity brother who lives in Las Vegas, and he knows Max because they're older than I am in the fraternity. So I tell him, yeah, I'm going to Vegas, but I'm going to go check out Lake Tahoe too. I'm all set in Vegas. He goes, well, if you're going up there, here's this guy's name and number. Give him a call. You need to meet this guy. He's a brother, older guy, and it was Max Rubin. So I drive up to the lake, go into the old Scotty's Castle.
Oh.
And Max is dealing blackjack, and the game's dead. So I introduce myself. He goes, oh, yeah. And he goes, so I got another 3 hours here. Why don't you take my car and drive all the way around the lake? This way you get to see everything. And I go, well, I got a car. I'm good. He goes, no, take my car. And he wipes his hands like a dealer, looks at the floorman, goes in his pocket, pulls out his keys, and throws them at me. I'm going, oh, okay. Well, I didn't know. So I go out to parking lot number 54, and it's a white convertible Porsche. Never driven a Porsche in my life. So I drive all the way around the lake. That's how I first met him. So
I mean, that's pretty amazing to just hand his Porsche to a guy he's never met before.
No, I don't think I'd spent a minute with him yet. It was that fast. So anyway, so then he winds up moving back down to Vegas, and he was dealing blackjack at the Frontier. And because we were fraternity brothers, we got to know each other and this and that. And it turns out I got the band started, and Max could actually play harmonica. I mean, he actually could.
Yeah.
Now, he will tell you he's a great singer. I would put him as a great entertainer. But he actually could play the harmonica. So, we put it in the band. And wow, we played shows together for 25 years, everywhere you can think of in Vegas. Along with that, he was just a stud, man. He was fit. And turns out he was lightning fast. The boy could run, this little white boy. Yeah, baby. So I invited him to play rugby football because we started the team in 1975, I think it was. And I think Max got there in 76 or 7, something like that. And he was good. He was really good. In fact, he played the outside winger, which means the goals get the ball out to him. So you can move and shake, because one-on-one tackling a guy, that isn't going to happen. So anyway, he wound up scoring a lot of points. He's really good. And then along came Anthony Curtis, this wrestler guy from somewhere. I can't remember exactly where. Yeah, somewhere famous. Yeah. And this guy was fast, like faster than Max. Make a long story short again, Anthony Curtis went on to break every single scoring record for Las Vegas rugby until another guy by the name of Mike Rood came along. But Anthony Curtis was as good a rugby player as you're going to see. Seriously. He was that good. So I met Max there, and we did the, the band, and we did rugby together. I could tell so many rugby stories, but we're running out of time a little bit here. And of course, I was at the very first Blackjack Ball in the basement. Yeah, I was actually the MC reading the questions.
I didn't remember that. I was there too, but I didn't remember you were the one reading the questions. So.
Well, they were asking they were so over my head. I mean, I learned so much about blackjack, from you guys and others, but I'm not in your league. I'm not one of you. I know. But I remember, like, the question, I didn't even understand the question, let alone know how to answer. It was something like, on a 6-deck Mirage, using a Mirage shuffle 52% of the way through the deck, but they counted +4 using a Kelly betting system to win $1,500 in an hour. What's the proper bet? And all you guys said $75 or whatever it was. No computer, no nothing. It's like, who are these guys? Oh, but it was so much fun.
All right. Well, Buzz, look, this has been great. I just love hearing these stories from the old days in Vegas, especially. And I just want to thank you again for doing this.
Well, thank you. It was a treat. I really appreciate it because, believe it or not, I don't get to tell these stories too often for two reasons. Number one, a lot of people won't understand them. And you have to explain too much. Number two, they're not going to believe this. That all this stuff could happen to one guy. I mean, I was a clown diver at Caesar's Palace.
A what?
A clown diver. I used to do clown dives during the high roller parties in the summer at the Caesar's Palace pool with what was his name? The original guy who played Tarzan, Johnny Weissmuller was it? Yeah.
Wait, what is a clown diver?
Okay, so here's what they hired me to do. Another story. So when I got to Vegas, remember I was a lifeguard in Arizona.
Yeah.
And in our off times, we would go to they still had 3-meter boards, the big high board, and we would practice what we call hog dives. And they were these really weird looking dives that nobody could do. And you would land like you had a severe belly flop. Only we developed a way to land to make it look like a belly flop, but you weren't getting hurt. There was a talent to it. Anyway, so I would go to the Sahara pool, sneak in there, zoot the guys, tip them, and I would practice my hog dives. Well, one day, the guy who owns the concession, who owned about 5 other concessions at other hotels, says, I got something for you here at Caesar's Palace. You should go over there and audition and do your dives for the big high roller party at Caesar's Palace. It's an all-water show. So he set me up, and I went down here. So here was my role. They had a bunch of different things going on, but they had these 3 precise precision divers I'll never forget from the University of Oregon. And they would go on the 3 boards simultaneously doing the same dives. I mean, they were very skillful,
Yeah.
And they would go through their routine. So after that, they would put me on a chair right next to the pool with a big Panama hat, one of those fake cigars that's about a foot long, with a Caesar's Palace t-shirt. And I had these special chef pants with suspenders on them. And I would act like I was drunk, like, oh, anybody can do that. You guys, watch this. And I would walk up and I'd fall through the ladder because I'd practiced all this before. Get back up, get on there, and I'd do a dive and just look like I absolutely killed myself. Then I'd get back out, right? And I'd do another stunt. One of my best tricks is I would jump from the high dive to the low dive, then do a double somersault with a cannonball right next to the edge, so it got everybody on that edge wet. But the last stunt, this is the greatest. And it was one of the naked girls gave me this. She gave me a silver sequin jockstrap. Like, what am I going to do with that? Here's what I did with it. So I put that on, and I had these chef pants with the suspenders. Well, halfway through the show, of course, I was rid of the hat, the cigar, the shirt. So now I just got the pants and the suspenders on. Well, the last stunt I did, I would jump on the high dive about 7-8 times. And on the 8th time, I'd reach down, I would flip the suspenders. The pants would come straight off, stay on the board, and I would do a swan dive in the big spotlight in the silver sequin jockstrap. And I did that show for 2 summers. It was, but the point I was trying to make, and again, not to impress you, but I just did so many different things there. It was just like, people won't believe it is where I was going.
Vegas was so much more fun back then.
It was the greatest. But I got so many other stories. Maybe we'll do it again. I'll see if I can recollect. I hope they enjoyed this. And like I said,
I'm sure they will.
and just remember Wyatt Earp. And that's exactly the way it happened. Give or take a lie or two, y'all.
That's the perfect place to end. Thanks again, Buzz.
Have a great day.